rules are there so you can understand something, and then you can go beyond them. They're just something that you go beyond. And, art is about creating and breaking constantly those rules. And yeah, those rules are great. They're good structures. It's good information, but it's not to be reified and put on an altar. I am been painting and drawing since I was 3. In Japan, I started with my grandmother, and I've been doing portraits since I was 9. And I was really making good money since age 16, and I'm 65 now. I'm more on the fine arts trajectory, and I've come a long way, constantly breaking the rules. This is called Beyond the Stone Buddha, and it's about women in meditation and how we're perceived. There is this real dynamicness in our character that we don't want to hold back. And there's this idea that we all are moving towards becoming this idealized stone Buddha that's perfect and smiling, and we're not like that. We're human, having a human experience as a spiritual experience. I like to work pretty much inspired by the life that I have. So my life is one of real reflection, contemplation, as well as expansion and growth as a human being, and a reconnection back to our planet and the earth. And there's some activism involved in that. What I like to do is mix performance art, which I haven't done in a while, but I'm getting back to that, along with a 2D art. And I am at the stage right now where I'm really mixing the hyperrealism, surrealism, realism with expressionism. So I have calligraphic paint strokes, which are inspired by my sword work, the movement of execution of one single movement, like one single cut. And they are highly meditative, so I meditate while I'm doing it. So I'm in a kind of a 0.0 place where I'm not thinking or trying to represent something. It just happens spontaneously when I pick up the brush, load it with ink, and go to the piece of blank canvas and produce something. Sometimes I'll leave it alone. Sometimes I'll look at it, and then I'll see an image somewhere in there that I can do the realistic, figurative, usually empowerment women images placed inside those wild and concise strokes. I've been getting more and more feedback, which is really fantastic for me. People see my work as strong. There's a lot of power in each stroke. They see it as somebody with a real, direct character that doesn't mess around on the paper when I do these strong strokes. And they're moved by it. Somehow they feel like they're meditative, yet there's dynamicness within the context of what they see. So it makes them experience and feel things in the moment. So they relate to it through their feelings, their emotions, and it creates a state for them, hopefully of space, of curiosity, and of, like gusto for living. And then when I do the detailed hyperrealistic graphite pencil drawings, they get very moved because also it evokes emotion for them. Usually my characters are in a situation of challenge of some kind, but they're overriding that challenge. They're rising above it. And people feel that. They often say there's a levity, there's a lightness in my work, even though it's strong and it evokes strong emotion. So I'm getting a lot of that feedback, and it moves them on some real tangible human level. So as well as touching a spiritual tone of some kind inside of themselves, even if they don't have that context for spirituality, it touches them somewhere inside. I do like to break rules. First of all, I don't have any rules. I'm self-taught. So oftentimes you learn a lot of rules and structure in college, universities, and I never had the chance to do that. I started working at 16 years old, and I really chose not to go back to school, mainly because I didn't have the time for it. And I also saw that in my area, if I was to choose any of the schools there, they felt like they weren't adequate enough to really teach me. They often left me doing my own thing, and everybody else was doing that project in the class. And so I was innovating, creating off on my own. So I figured if I'm going to be doing this in class while I'm supposed to be learning, why don't I just do this by myself and make some money at it? So basically I started a career early on, and I broke the rules in that respect. I broke the rules of learning how to paint and draw simply by observation. So I can observe something just like I observe people and see a lot about them just by holding them in my gaze. So I can hold a painting in my gaze and pretty much I can see the technique, maybe how they were, I can disassemble a painting in that way. Don't know how that happens, but I've always had that talent. Maybe one day I will learn how to formally paint and oil paint, but I'm totally breaking the rules by not doing that. I do love the figure, and I love to create emotion around it rather than just make a pretty figure or make a pretty face or a portrait. So I like to break the rules in that sense of diving deeper into the essence and the soul of the object that I'm presenting on paper, and give different perspectives for it so that people can see it in a different way. Oftentimes, I like to photograph my models. This model was photographed. And I like to photograph them while they're having a struggle. I don't like a perfect picture of somebody because oftentimes I'll tell them to stop smiling or doing something that feels like they're trying to make a Facebook profile page. So I like to have them struggling with something like that. Particular drawing was, she was struggling with her hijab, my friend from Iran, and she had just got back. Oftentimes I would put my models in really hard poses, like I would myself. There's a piece there. These pieces came out of dream work. I love my dreams. My dreams in the unconscious place are where I journal. I don't like to journal at the conscious level because there's so much story there that gets lost, and ideas and concepts that are pretty regular and ordinary. But in the dream world, you get some extraordinary stories. So I dreamed I was a spider hanging from a silk thread in the luminous, dark, vast space of time. I was spider consciousness. And when I woke from the dream, I felt elevated from human consciousness into this deep sense of peace and connection to all of life. And so since 2002, I've been redrawing this piece. The spider is a woman, myself climbing a rope instead of having that silk thread come from my body. And I'm ascending here into the light, which is the conscious realm of waking, out of the unconscious realm of sleeping and dreaming. So often my work comes out of my dreams. I love my dream state. My two favorite subjects, time and sound. Now, I look at time as the intersection of how we perceive it. We can perceive that we are in the past. We can perceive that we are present even. We can perceive that we're in the future. We have this magnificent ability to bend and shift and change and shape time. However, time is just something that is a concept for us humans to navigate things. Nothing else has time except for birth, living, process, and then dying. That's time. But time is the creation and the disassembling of something, and the transformation and all of that stuff, which happens within the context of time. If there was no time, would there be objects that would be born and to have a process and die? Would that be so? I don't think so. So time is a construct in which we navigate the living biology of of everything that we experience. And also sound. Sound is everywhere. It's resonance. I mean, even in silence, there's sound. In fact, there's more sound when you're not speaking and listening than there is when you're speaking, but you can also be there with the resonance of your voice. And how much does the resonance and sound of your voice actually match your intention? Like, that is art for me. When everything matches concisely and precisely and just, in every beautiful way, it all comes together on a piece of paper, on a canvas, in a melody or a song or even in the sound of my voice saying hello to you. Like, you know, that kind of connection. Resonance is everywhere. Trees have resonance. Everything, living thing has a resonance and a sound. It could be its original name, but we choose to name things and to lock them into tiny little boxes. But it's beyond that. Resonance and sound is everywhere. And if you're really listening, then you can be a part of it and really feel connected to everything. We feel like we're the observers in this quantum soup and nothing exists unless we observe it. That's not true. There are so many other probably dimensions in which we're not aware of, we can't even see because of our self-centeredness, that we don't even know what's going on half the time. If we can open our eyes fast enough, we might be able to see the world, but would we want to live in that world? That's the other thing. Could we? Yeah, we make time into our enemy by saying, I don't have time. We have all the time in the world.